Hope you had a good weekend.
Oh, now you're live.
There we go. That's a little bit better. We don't have the glare. There. I see there's 3 of you on. Hi, Joni. Hi, Linda. Are you guys working along with me tonight? Hi, Elaine, Judy. Hi, Erin. Hi, Lynn. Yvonne. Oh, good. I see a bunch of you on. Awesome. Okay, so tonight I'm going to show you how to make a mini tag album using the tag punch board. And I know, hi Corey. Oh good, good. I'm glad you're working along. Hi Irene. I showed those of you who joined us for Lucy Palooza 4 one type of mini tag album. Now tonight I'm going to do something different, so that's nice for those of you who made the other one. This is just a little bit of a different spin on the album. Hi Cindy. I am at Heather's. We are still packing for Lucy, so we might have a cat or two join us. Hi Wendy. For those of you who are maybe joining in tonight and like the project, the punch tag or the tag punch board is on sale, and I have linked it above. It's $15.99 for the punch board, and I'll show you how to use it. And then the oops, Scruff is gonna like knock over all my stuff here. Sorry. Then the Botanical Garden is the paper pad that I am using, and it's also on sale for $4.99 in the online store, and I have also linked that above. Oh, Colleen says you were going to play along tonight, picked the paper pad today, went to get the tag punch board and discovered you don't have it. You have the tab punch. Oh darn, darn, Colleen, you're gonna have to go back in and grab it. It's on sale. It's on special, so that'll be good. You can grab it. Hi, Joni, Jennifer. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys have been excited to see the sneak peeks of Lucy. We are too. This is my favorite Lucy so far, but I say that every time it's Lucy. Hi, Carolyn. All right, there's about 24 people on, so I think I might just get started. I'm just going to chat a little bit at the beginning anyways. So this is the We Are Memory Keepers tag punch board. You'll see, as most of the We Are Memory Keepers punch boards work, there is a little slot here that fits your blade in, and on this side with the punch board we've got a little hole punch. Now this hole punch is pretty small, so when I've made the tags myself, I re-punch with the crocodile, the eyelet setter punch with the larger hole, just because I usually put eyelets in it as well. But this works just fine, and you could run through some like fine twine or whatever through your tag. I really like this punch board, so this lifts up and you can slide your paper underneath. Hi Suzanne. I've kind of figured out that you can't really do, unless you're going to bend your paper, you can't really do much of a wider tag than about 3 3/4 of an inch. You can do them as long as you want, of course. So that's nice, but I will show you how it works. You would line your papers up according to the letter that you'd like to use, which corresponds with the angle that you're going to be cutting on. So I like my angles to be a little bit smaller, so typically I would start with C or D, and I would cut that angle off of each side of my tag, which I will show you exactly how I do it, and then you line up in the whole section. It's kind of hard to see here, but there are lines so you can center it perfectly. This punch board is pretty easy and simple to use. I love it. Okay, so I wanted to take note for you guys, or I wanted you guys to take note. This is the 6x6 Essentials little storage bin. I have probably 10 of these because I like, first of all, I have all of my photo mats pre-cut out. So I have like 6x4s and 3x4s and 2x3s all cut out and stored in these little bins so that I can grab them when I need them. But they're also perfect for 6x6 paper pads. So I'll show you. They just fit perfectly in, whoops, the other way, for storage. And I just love them. I have a ton of them, like I said. So one of the things I noticed when I was packing up to come to Heather's is that this tag punch board fits perfectly in here, and I love that. One of the things I love about the tag punch board is that you could cut out some of your extra papers, scrap papers from a project, and then you could just store them in here, and when you're ready to go at it, you can just cut a whole bunch of tags out, or you can cut them out in advance and then just store them in the container. I really like that, so I have some of tonight's stuff cut out already. It fits my glue in here, it fits my papers, and I can just close it up and go. It's kind of fun, I like that. I've also linked these above. I'm not sure if this is the price on them. Are they $7.49?
I think so.
Yeah, so they're linked above too, and I love these. Yeah, Ghislaine, I like organization, especially my craft stuff. It has to be all a certain way. Yeah, so that's just a little blurb on the side. So let's get to the punch board. Do you guys want to see what I'm making first? Probably, right? So I've made a little tag album up in advance so that I could show you guys what it turned out like. And I didn't really use any ephemera or anything because I didn't have any to go with the botanical garden. However, there are lots of papers. There's 24 papers in here, and I only used about half the pad. So you could definitely go in and fussy cut some of the other floral pieces and add them if you'd like to. But I'll just show you what I came up with. So it's kind of like a tiered album. So we've got smaller cards going to larger. So you can see that there, tags. So I'll go through each one. Now I did use a little bit of just, I guess, scrap pieces of stickers that I had from something else. This is actually from the Vicky Boutin Christmas stuff, which is sold out, but there are lots and lots of puffy, no, stickers. I would keep wanting to call them. Well, there's lots of puffy stickers too, in different lines, but there's also quite a bit of stickers, which would also work really great for these. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about does Dan still have the gesso in the modeling paste?
Oh, can I have those tubes, please?
One of the things I wanted to kind of highlight that you could do...
The tubes. Can I have the tubes?
Sorry, I'm just grabbing the tubes that I used. One of the things I wanted to highlight that you could do when you just have some plain paper and you want to jazz it up a little bit is... I'm just going to grab my tubes here.
There you go. Whoops. Sorry.
Got like a mess happening here. I'm just kind of swirling. You can use a little bit of gesso and modeling paste to create some texture and add some additional color to your papers. So what I've done here is I've taken some heavy gesso and I've lightly brushed it just on the bottom of my paper here, and then I let that dry with a heat gun, or you could just let it air dry. It doesn't take very long to dry, especially if you do a very light coat. Now, using the heavy gesso on this paper does help and prevent it from crinkling or warping when you're putting the, in this case I put watercolors on, or also the modeling paste. So it really did help to keep it stiff and straight. And then after that dried, I took a stencil. So you can see here I've used like a polka dot stencil, and I've used some modeling paste over that with, what are those sticks called?
Popsicle sticks?
No, it's not a spatula.
Spatula? Palette knife?
Palette knife. I always forget the name of palette knife. So I use a palette knife and I just put a little bit of texture there, let that dry, and then I took some watercolors in this case. I took some brown on this page, just sort of to match the background, and you could use whatever you like. You don't have to use watercolors. You could also use your oxide inks. You could use the just the plain distress inks by adding them. I usually add those to like an acrylic block, and then you could add some water to it and it acts as a watercolor. You could use both the oxide or just the regular distress ink. You could use any of the Tombow markers as a watercolor. You can use any of the acrylic paints, the sparks. There's lots of options in the store that you could use. I just used watercolors in this case. Just so you guys know, Heather and Dan have ordered some of the Prima watercolors. I think they're the confection line.
Palette watercolor pans, which
watercolor pans. They're really cute.
Like metal tins, and they open up and there's 12 assorted colors in there.
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard Heather, but they're a small, cute little metal tin, and there's 12 assorted colors, and they're all sort of different color lines. So Heather's ordered, I think, most of them, and I can't wait for those to come in. They're supposed to be super vibrant and really great watercolors. So I can't wait for those to come in. So, kind of squirreling. Once I did that, I let that dry. I took some of Dina Wakley's white spray and I spritzed it so you can kind of see some of those white acrylic dots there. And then I took some of the watercolor that I used and I also spritzed that. Just did some splatter. So that worked out. And then at the bottom of this tag in particular, I added some ribbon and I went all the way around, and then I added an eyelet because I love eyelets and I use them on everything. And then I had some little flowers, so I have those too. On the back of my tags, I did not do any texture or anything. I left them plain just because I thought since I was doing the front of them, I didn't want to do the back as well. But you could opt to do both sides if you wanted to. Okay, so there's the first one. And then of course I just added some little sentiments that I had extra from the Vicky Boutin Christmas line. And I thought they fit in perfect, but again, there's like lots of little options in the store that you could use for those, especially the thickers, which actually, to be honest with you, as a side note, I never liked using them, but I have quite a few of my stash, and recently when I've made like random cards or even some of these like random books that don't have ephemera, I've often been like grabbing from them, so it's kind of nice to have a variety of them in your stash, and they're like pretty inexpensive for like a double-sided sheet of stickers, and they give some like texture to your sheet too, since they're kind of puffy and thick. Okay, so this is the second tag, so you can see again I've used that gesso. I've done the same technique, so I won't sort of talk about what I did on each one because it's the same technique, but I've used a different texture on this one. And I should state too, I used all of the Elizabeth Craft stencils on this. I'm not sure if we have any in stock right now, but they're the ones that are like the smaller ones that are more in a pack. I'll have to check and see if we have
I'm not sure if we do.
Heather doesn't know if we have any left. So again, I splattered on this one and I used black for the background, and I just took a little ribbon and I tied it across and added a little sentiment.
But you could use any of the Pink Fresh stencils as well that we use for the shading.
Oh yeah.
And you can use them on there as well and create, a combination of the modeling paste with some stencil butters even.
Oh yes. Actually,
and add that
mention those too
with your Pink Fresh stencils, and they would be really cool.
Yeah.
To do.
So you could also even instead of modeling paste, like Heather just said too, you could use the stencil butter. You could also use the larger stencil butter jar and add any of the new mica powders to it. You could add the mica powder to the modeling paste or the 3D gel and do the same thing. There's lots of options for adding texture to one of these cards. Lots of options. Okay, so there's that tag.
We're all about options.
And again, I just did the back blank. So this one here, I've added, I love, 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 love this colored paper. It's kind of like a peachy color. So again, we've got some texture there, and I've added some orange watercolor, and then I just did like a circle punched, I think it's a 1.5 inch circle. I would put a picture there, but I wanted to just show you guys what it would look like as a photo mat. And again, I just splattered and stuff like that. The back is blank. Now this page I really love too. We've got some ribbon at the bottom again. I've got a little bit of, I think that's just a fancy paper clip, I don't know. And again, same polka dot stencil here. Back is plain. And then we've got this page here. I like ribbon at the bottom of the pages, so this one I just kind of trimmed, it was a flat ribbon that I trimmed the edges so it kind of had that look to it, and then I just added 2 little 2x2 photo mats. This one as well, I've added some flowers, some ribbon, and I did the texture in there as well. Where is the texture in this one? Oh, it's kind of hard to see. It's that sort of triangle shape again. And this last one is just, again, a little ribbon, and then we've got the texture hearts up here. And then, yeah, I tied the top, with just one of the ribbons that I used. I was going to use one of the binder clips, which are also in the online store. There's 3 different sizes, but I thought it looked too silver for this, so I ended up just tying it like this. So I hope you guys like that. I thought it would be kind of different to show you like a layered sort of tag album, and we'll get to all the measurements and stuff next. So hopefully you like it. I'll set that aside. I am going to show you how to trim a few tags, but I'm not going to show you all of them because that would just kind of be monotonous. But we'll definitely do all of the measurements. So we'll cut this one together. So, whoops, got my hair stuck to myself here. So there are 7 tags. Now, you could choose to do, I actually had originally cut 2 tags of each size, thinking that we would have like 14 pages, but then once I had it all together with the mixed media pieces on it, it was a little bit too thick, but you could definitely do 2 of each size if you wanted to. And again, it only used half of my book, and that was cutting out all of these. So half of my book could really make 2 tags, 2 tag albums, which is pretty awesome, especially for $5. Like, where else can you, that's 4 books you can make for $5. That's crazy. Okay, so the first measurement, as you can see, is the base piece, the largest of the tags, and it measures 6 by 3 1/4. So let's cut that. And when I say the base, that is the solid colored sheet that you're going to use. So in this case, I used black. You can use whatever color you like. If you're using Botanical Garden, there's lots of pinks and greens that you could choose from that would all look really great with it, but I chose black. And I like black because I think it pops with this particular collection line. So let's just go ahead and cut that first one. So 6. This thing pops out.
I know, I told you you weren't gonna like my cutter.
Okay, so 6 by 3 1/4. All right. So 6 by 3 1/4. Now, the way that I've written this is, so for the base, I've written underneath, it says D. That is where we are going to trim off our tag angles. Okay, and then when it says the pattern piece, we're going to trim between D and E. So that means we're going to go halfway between the 2 lines. And the reason for that is I like having like an 1/8 of an inch between my border and my pattern paper, and that makes that 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so basically then as you're going up with each of your letters here, there are 1/4 inch difference between each of them. That's why I went halfway. So you can't really see where the letters are on this through my camera here, or at least I can't see them, that you guys can see them. But we're going to line our first tag up with D, and I'm going to trim off each of my edges. So I've got this lined up along the D, and I'm going to take out my handy dandy trimmer, and I'm going to trim, that edge off. It works really well. I just love it. So you can see I've got my angle there, and I like to have like smaller angles on my tags. And then I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to line it up again on D, and I'm going to trim the other angle off. So we've got our perfectly angled little tag. I just love this punch board. It is so easy to use. And then I know I said I always punch a larger hole. The reason for that is that I use the eyelets. However, I still always line my tag up on this because it helps to center it perfectly. So you can see when you're trimming, there's an arrow for the center where the hole is, and you're going to line up your tag, so where these angled pieces are, you're going to line that up in between so that your hole will be punched right in the center. So you can see here, I'm going to line it up so that these edges have the same amount of lines and space on both sides, and then I'm going to punch that little hole. So you can see it's a very tiny hole. That's why I reinforce it with the larger hole so I can punch my eyelets. Okay, does that make sense, guys? So that would be your first solid tag. And I'm going to set that aside. Now for the colored one, or the pattern piece to go on our largest tag, we are going to trim it to, and I'm sorry, I know some of you hate the 1/8 inch measurements, but I like them, and so does Heather. And we like to give you guys a challenge. So our length will be 5 7/8 by 3 1/8. And I will mention now that if you're using Botanical Garden, the orientation of your paper does not matter. So it doesn't matter which way you cut, it's going to turn out fine. So 5 7/8 by 3 1/8. So there is our pattern piece, and I'll line this up and I'll show you that this fits sort of exactly with 1/8 inch around the whole edge. And again, I like to have that 1/8 inch border.
What you looking at?
You.
So then,
Just wanted to see what you look like when you're not yelling.
oh geez.
Oh.
Heather's working on the April, oh, you have one done? Okay, do you guys want to see the April doohickey? What's this called? Glue pin. Look at the April glue pin. It's honestly adorable. There's like a little bunny with a carrot. There's like a rubber ducky, and then there's a carrot. Like honestly, look at those beads too.
We'll get them in the
That's pretty.
system tomorrow.
So does
be in
the
the
duck
system
float if you lose it in your bathtub?
Yeah, it's rubber ducky, you're the one.
Oh dear.
You make bath time lots
See,
of
soon
fun.
Megan will get silly like us.
Soon.
Soon. Those are so cute. So they'll be in the online store tomorrow for those of you who like avidly follow that glue pin of the month. I know I do, but Heather makes them for me. Oops, sorry. Okay, so this is our pattern piece. Oh yeah, Judy Norman says, "Oh, cute, Heather. You guys are super quiet tonight. Is it because I just haven't stopped talking?" Okay, so like I mentioned, the way that I've written out the measurements for you for the pattern piece, we are going to trim our angles between D and E. Linda Chisholm says it's really cute too.
Good.
Oh, they're saying Heather's closer to the microphone than I am.
Pull that microphone.
Oh, is that better? Sorry, guys. I don't talk that loud. Heather's loud, right, Dan?
Got a big mouth. He's downstairs.
Oh, okay. So this one we're going to trim between D and E. So I will find D and E, and I will kind of just eyeball halfway in between. So I'm going to trim one side, and then again, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to trim the other side. So halfway between D and E. And so there we go. Okay. And you'll see, actually it might look better this way, you can see better. You'll see that there's pretty much exactly 1/8 of an inch all the way around our border, which works perfectly. Jennifer Frost Casista says the glue pin is adorable.
Good.
Oh, Corey said they could hear me. It was just Heather was louder.
Oh. Heather's got the big mouth.
Okay, good. All right. So yeah, I just love the way that these turn out. They're so super cute. So again, we're going to line up our little hole here and get our center punched. Okay, so we've got that punched. Now, you don't have to punch that one too, because the one on the back will give us a guide to where we're going to punch the larger hole, but it doesn't matter. So what you're going to do in this album is for each solid piece, I've covered with 2 pattern pieces. So you can choose whatever colors or papers that you like, but I did cover both sides. And like I showed you in the sample finished, I did not decorate one side. So you are going to cut out 2 of the patterned pieces in that size and then the solid. Okay. Oh, thanks, Erin. They're so cute, aren't they? I love them. Are you guys okay if I just go ahead and give you all the measurements then? And I can show you how to cut another one too when we get to the smaller ones. Okay, so this is our largest. And I'll set that here for you so you can still see. Now our second largest tag is, the base is 5 3/4 by 3, and you're going to trim your angles at E. Okay, and again, we only need 1 base if you're only doing 1 tag per each size, but you need 2 of the pattern pieces for each. So the pattern piece on the second largest tag is 5 5/8 by 2 7/8, and you're going to cut between E and F. Okay, so that's this second tag here. And I think I did 1/4 inch smaller on each one. That's how I did it. Okay. I'll just go ahead here because these are all here. You can write them out as I put them up, and you can always pause and go back to. So for the third not largest, whatever way you look at it, the next size down, the base is 5 1/2 by 2 3/4, and we're going to trim the angles at F. And the patterned sheets, again, you need 2, are 5 3/8 by 2 5/8. And you're going to trim them between the angle between F and G for the pattern. Erin says that you sometimes add white cardstock on the back if you want to write a personal sentiment. That's a great idea. So you could have white cardstock on the back of each one rather than the pattern piece, and you could just write a little sentiment or do a little bit of journaling on the back. That's a great idea. Elizabeth Craft Design too has like a ton of stamps that would work that I can think of. I can't think of the names of the stamp sets, but there's quite a few of them that have like the lines in there that you could easily journal on too. Okay, whoops. So that was the third tag. Now our next tag, and there's 7 altogether. Our next tag, is this okay? Can you guys see this fine? I'll just wait to make sure you guys can see. But the next size, the base is 5 1/4 by 2 1/2, and you'll trim your angles at G. And then your pattern pieces will be 5 1/8 by 2 3/8, and you will trim your angle between G and H. Does that make sense to you guys so far? Okay, good. Good. Oh, good. I'm glad. Okay. Yeah, it's easier for me to write the measurements on the sticky notes for you guys to see.
Oh my gosh, I'm loving these.
Heather loves the new spring glue pens. Okay, so our next tag is, the base is 5 by 2 1/4, and we will trim the angled edges at H, and the pattern pieces will be 4 7/8 by 2 1/8, and we will trim them between H and I. Our second smallest base will be 4 3/4 by 2, and we will trim the edges at I. The pattern pieces are, I'm getting such a dry throat talking. Sorry guys. 4 5/8 by 1 7/8. It gets so tiny, I was afraid at first. So your first two tags definitely won't be big enough to put like a photo or anything, but you can absolutely dress them up and do some journaling or whatever. So again, sorry, the pattern piece for that, I know I just said it, but 4 5/8 by 1 7/8, and you will trim the angles between I and J. And then our last cute little piece. Oh my gosh, my throat's so dry. Talking too much tonight. Four and a half by 1 3/4 is the base. We will trim our angle at J, and the pattern pieces will be 4 3/8 by 1 5/8, and we will trim that between J and K. Okay, so I will, glue a couple of these together with you that I've already had pre-cut. I will cut this small one out with you guys just to show you again how that tag punch board works. But otherwise, I did run through the journal and I gave you some ideas for decorating, but we're not going to do the whole thing together. And like I said, you can use any of the pattern papered pieces that you like to add in, or you can just copy the way I have it. It doesn't matter. And again, you can make 2 whole books from only half of the paper pad, which is amazing. But actually, oh no, I was just going to say, I don't think I cut 2 out for the second one, but I did. So that went really far using all that paper. Are you guys okay with these measurements? You can always go back and pause anyways. I'll just wait till a few of you say yes. I love this paper piece in the botanical garden. I love Cartabella paper. It is one of my favorite paper lines too, or paper companies, Cartabella. If you've not used Cartabella, not the 6x6 pads, but the 12x12 collection packs, and all their paper has like this brilliant texture to it, and I really love the way it feels. I'm not seeing many comments tonight. I'm assuming you guys are good with these measurements. I'll wait till I see a yes, and then I'm going to move this. Yep, thanks, Linda. I was just thinking about the graphic 45 line that we have in for Lucy 5. I love it. It is, oh, it's a good one. And smells. What are you saying, Joni? Yes, you always go back and rewatch, but on your computer, much easier to see. Oh, you're cutting and watching. Sorry, Corey. I wasn't quite sure how I do it tonight, if I would work right along with you, but I had already pre-cut out my whole album, so yeah. Awesome. Okay, so I'll move these aside since you guys have them.
Yep.
So I am going to, actually I need a black piece of paper underneath that again. There we go. The paper smells great. What, Graphic 45 or Cartabella? I think all the paper smells good. Okay, so let's cut this teeny tag because sometimes I feel like when you go to do like the smaller ones, it seems a little bit odd. So 4 and 3, or no, sorry, the base for the smallest one is 4.5. By 1 3/4. It seemed, oh, I was going to say it seemed a lot smaller than that, but it's not. That's the right size. Oh yeah, Cartabella. All the paper lines have like their own unique smell. Stamperia smells good too, but I think Graphic 45 smells the best, except the Let It Be one. I don't know if there's like just a lot of black ink, but it smells very strong. Okay, so the pattern piece for the smallest wee little tag is 4 3/8. So 4 3/8. And just a tip, I don't know if you're cutting right now or whatever, it doesn't matter because you have so much paper in these little packages. But I cut all of the larger tags first, and then I used like the scraps to cut the smaller ones just so it went further. I didn't like cut the smaller ones first like I'm doing right now. Tina, I use both sides of the eyelets. Both sizes. I like the wide ones and I like the regular ones. For this particular project, I thought that the wider base ones, and this is the warm metals. I didn't link them above, but there are lots of eyelets, I believe, still available. They keep selling out because everyone loves them. I thought the wider ones would look nicer with this project, but I used both. I used the regular ones and the wide ones. I just happened to choose these ones. And if you were like really noticing and picky, I didn't have quite enough of the same color. So one of them is one of the cool colors. But that's okay. I don't think any of you guys noticed. Yes, Valerie, you can watch it later for sure. And Dan does upload them to YouTube as well if it's easier avenue for you to view. So it'll be online, so you can go back and watch it for sure. Okay, so then the width of the smallest tag is 1 5/8. So 1 3 5. Okay. Again, I love to have that like little 1/4 of an inch border, so that's just perfect. You guys don't have to figure out the measurements. They're all figured out for you there. All right, so on our small tag, the base piece angles were cut at J. So you are going to go all the way up to J, which is all the way up at the top here. Whoops. You'll just see sometimes your little blade does pop out, but it just easily pops back in. Hi, Linda. Okay, so here we go. Whoops, I didn't put that in quite properly. All right, so there's trimmed at J. And we'll trim the other side at J. Whoops. Heather's cutter blade, she needs a new one because this is all fuzzy on the edge now. All right, so there we've got our little tag. Now, I don't like having like my tags like right at an angle. So you'll see there is about like a 1/4 inch flat area there. That's like why I went only this small, because the neck size, there was like no edge at the top. Anyways, so our pattern piece, we're going to trim between J and K. So we will go halfway between J and K, and we will trim that corner off. So halfway between J and K, and you can just eyeball it. I mean, I'm sure that you guys will get it done fairly evenly. And there we go. We've got our tag that has the solid and the coordinating or the pattern piece that fits right inside there, which I love. Okay, Do you guys have any questions about cutting out the rest of those? Probably not. It's pretty straightforward, and I gave you all those measurements, so I'm pretty sure you could do it. So the next part is like easy peasy. Dan,
Hello?
do you guys sell, or is there replacement blades for the We Are Memory Keepers tools?
Sorry for what?
All the We Are Memory Keeper tools.
We carry most of the blades.
The what? No, the ones for like these ones.
We do not have them. I would have to order them.
We will look into that because I think I had asked Heather about that before and she wasn't sure that they had them. I know for a fact I have had some of these, not this punch board, but some of their other ones for years and they've never dulled. But I will ask Heather and we'll look into that and we'll let you guys know for sure. If anything, I know this part pops out here. And so there might be the replacements that fit in, but I'm not sure how that works because I do know that quite a few of the different punch boards have different sized circles here. So I don't know how that works, but we'll figure it out and we'll let you guys know. Okay, so like I said, I've got all these already cut out. So you can add your papers, you know, whatever way you like. I did use my art glitter glue to glue mine together. Now, for those of you who are going into the store to get art glitter glue, the large refill containers are available, but because it's still a little bit cold, they're still not shipping. So we don't have any of the smaller ones right now, but I actually prefer to grab some of the larger refills anyways, because it's just handy to have it if you run out and you need to fill it back up. Okay. So we are just going to go ahead and glue all of these pieces together. Now, if you didn't line up so I didn't punch these ones in advance and I should have. So I told you guys to punch them when we were going over all of our measurements. But it is too thick once you have these 3 pieces of paper in there to trim, to punch the little hole in the trimmer. Janet, these boards that we're using tonight, that I'm using, is the tag punch board. But We Are Memory Keepers have a ton of different punch boards, and we do have some of the other ones in the online store. I just don't know offhand which ones we have. Is the YouTube page linked somewhere, or can Dan put a link for the unique YouTube page? Yes, we can put a link underneath when I'm done. If Dan didn't just hear me, I can do it later. I'm sure that there must be a link somewhere on the page though. Okay, all right. So if you had punched your pattern piece, now is when I would go in and take my larger hole punch and I would punch it just centered right on that small opening. Okay, and again, I just kind of looked at my papers and evenly spread them. I didn't really choose specifics. I shouldn't say that. I chose all my favorite ones for the one I finished. And I will bring this like little book to the store so you guys can see it in person if you want to. And there's tons of little like clips and pins that you could add in, charms even could be easily added to this because there's holes in each piece. There's lots of different ribbons. Actually, I don't know if you guys know, but the Bow Bunny, there is like a bag or a box at the store underneath one of the tables that has some like older ribbon lines, and the Bow Bunny ones are in there. And the lace on those would be perfect for adding to the bottom of these cards. I think there's like purple, pink, there's like an orangey colored one. They would be perfect. And they're pretty inexpensive. I think I have a few of each of those colors. Okay. So this part's kind of boring. I'm just gluing all these pieces on. And again, like I told you before, once I had all of my pieces glued together, I picked which side I wanted to use because, like I mentioned when I first showed you my whole album, I only decorated one side. So I chose all the sides I wanted to decorate. I lined them all up, and then I took my heavy gesso and a thin paintbrush, and I just, wherever I wanted to apply my little pattern and colors, I took the gesso and very lightly ran over my tag, only in that one spot. So I didn't go through the whole entire tag, but I just chose like certain little areas to highlight on each of my tags. Okay. And then that's when I went through and dried it all. And then I took my modeling paste and some stencils, and I just ran over little sections on each piece with the modeling paste. Then I went, did you bring 3 cups of tea up?
I brought them on a board.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, it's just hot.
Thank you. Heather just brought me my tea. A-tea. Yeah, so you can use any sort of stencils. You don't even have to do that, but I thought I would just show you something different that might be fun to add to your little tag album, or anything really. You could do that same technique on cards, or you know, a mixed media piece, scrapbooking, whatever. Journaling. Speaking of journaling, I think Heather and I have been sort of mentioning the journal project that we're going to be working on. I'm super excited. I actually brought it to work on tonight when I'm done, just to sort of get a head start. I think I'll be using Dilutions products, while the girls will be using different Elizabeth Crafts things. So it'll be totally fun to see how each of us complete our little lists. Yeah, we each have our own little spin. I just love these little tags. Aren't they adorable? And I think, like I said before, it's so perfect if you have some paper left over from a project. You can like cut them out and just, you know, keep tags in one of those little 6x6 bins. And they fit in there really well. Whoops. And the tag punch board itself. I really love this polka dot. This little craft polka dot paper. For those of you who are just joining, don't forget that you can rewind and watch it again. And I've linked above the link to purchase the tag punch board, which is $15.99. It's on sale right now. And oh, look at, there's pink polka dots too. Squirrel. And you can also grab the Botanical Garden 6x6 paper pad for $5, which is a really great price. There are limited amounts, but there are quite a few in the store. So if you do want to grab them, it'd be handy to grab a few. Are you guys all working along with me still, or kind of just cutting out? I know it's kind of hard when I just gave all those measurements. This is my favorite piece. It's so pretty. I forget who mentioned it now too, but you could even like decorate each of the pieces, not put any photos on it, and just write like some nice sentiments for someone on these little tags. They're so nice. Pretty. I really like the florals, or the foliage pattern papers too.
Oh, it's a good cup of tea.
It's a good cup of tea. You're just watching, Linda.
I just posted YouTube.
Thank you. Oh, there. Dan just posted the link for YouTube. So, like I mentioned, Dan does convert all of the Facebook videos to YouTube, if that's a better resource for you guys to follow. I know for me, actually, I have a smart TV, so watching on YouTube would be bigger. So that might be handy for some of you.
Easier to find them as well.
Yeah, Dan says it's easier to find them too. So he does title each of the videos the same title that we have on our Facebook page too. Okay. We'll spin up here.
Beside me.
Oh,
I know, Luigi.
Finny's whiny. He likes attention. All right, so this is like my favorite part. Look at how they fit. And you guys didn't even have to figure out the measurements. I sat there trying to figure it out, and it took me so long to figure out to go halfway between the letter lines to make those angles, that 1/8 inch. I don't even know why, but I guess I wasn't having a good thinking moment. But anyways, it worked good. Yes, Tracy, tea is always good when someone else makes it. Is this not like the cutest little album? I love when they're all stacked. My OCD loves that. Look at, it's like so cute.
They are adorable.
Look at how those all just sit together like that. Now, of course, when you do your tag album, they're all going to line up like this, but it's still so fun. So yeah, you can make these little cute little album, tag albums with any of the paper lines. There's lots of paper lines. You know what works perfectly for these tiny ones? Puffy stickers. They're small and they're perfect for these little types of albums. I know for a fact, like most of the Simple Stories lines have the puffy stickers. Does Echo Park or is just Simple Stories?
Simple Stories does.
Yeah, so I know like, Homegrown would be so cute with this, like all the farm animals. And they have the little puffy stickers. So does the Howdy line, which would be so cute. Like a little tag book done in the Howdy. Yeah, there's lots of fun things. You could make like a tag book like this for a baby shower gift with like the 12 months of a baby. You could do them all maybe the same size, maybe. Instead of this like, what's the name of, like, what's the word for this? Layered, layered tags, stacked tags. You could probably do them all the same size. You can give them as like a wedding shower gift, really anything. I just love these little albums. So again, if you're just joining in, you can watch from the beginning and I gave you some ideas about how to decorate your little album. You could use a binder clip to close them all off. You can tag them with a ribbon like I did. Lots of different ideas. Okay, do you guys have any questions about that? And like I said, actually, like looking at this ribbon, the Bo Bunny ribbon in the store, it's not in the online store, but it is in store. It's a great price, and all the Bo Bunny lace would work perfectly for the bottoms of these. And it comes in, like I said, I think there's purple, there's pink, and there's like an orangey color, and they're 3 different thicknesses. So it'd be perfect for one of these tag books. Thanks, Erin. All right, so I hope that you guys enjoyed making this little album. I know that you probably didn't finish it while I explained everything, but we definitely want to see your finished projects. So definitely share them on the Facebook page, and I can't wait to see what you've all made. So I think Sandra will be on Wednesday. Otherwise, I will see you guys next Monday. The rest of the week will likely be fairly quiet because we will be packing Lucy all weekend. So hopefully we have it done and ready to ship out within the next few weeks. So I don't think that Heather and Dan will be on to show new stuff. But I'll definitely be on next Monday. Actually, no, I'm lying. I won't be. I have my mixed media class next Monday, which is no. What's the date next week?
Next week is Easter, so it's no.
Let me just look.
I don't know.
I think it is.
Hello.
Sorry, guys. No, I don't have my mixed media thing next week. The 11th. I don't remember what I'm doing, but I will be on next Monday. I was just getting mixed up. Never mind. I will see you guys next Monday, and Sandra will be on Wednesday. Oh, I'm glad you guys all like it. Oh, I see a bunch of comments now. Thanks, guys. Awesome. So I can't wait to see your finished projects, and you guys have a great rest of your week.